All right, in this video, I'm going to be going over both press conferences that happened. 310's press conference was incredibly boring and lame. UFC 311's was actually really funny, and we're going to go over the highlights in this video. No shocker here, but the UFC 310 press conference was horrible. Everything, it was boring, nothing happened. But with the fighters on stage, it's hard to predict otherwise. Really the highlight of the whole thing was Volkov and Asakura to me, just because Asakura was trying so hard to speak English well and it just wasn't working, and his accent's really funny. So many funny accents in the past couple days, but we'll go over it. So it starts off with Pantoja pretty much just saying he's gonna win. Boring dialogue, fighter dialogue. He's gonna win, and then he says that Asakura makes the fight spicy, which is interesting. And then Asakura says he's gonna make the division great again in his accent, which is really really funny, and that I can't try to imitate for many different reasons. And he says thank you to the UFC, and he says his fight style, that Pantoja's fight style is no good, and he's very boring, and he's gonna fix the division and make it exciting again, which I like. I like all of this. Kai Asakura is what the flyweight division needs desperately. It's boring as hell. Asakura brings in some personality and some life, and I love it. I love that he's here, and I love that he's yapping and trying to do it in English. It's very amusing. Great for the promotion. Next thing that happens is that Asakura promises that he'll knock him out. I hope he does. That would be amazing, and it would set up the flyweight division going forward. Then we get to Ian Gary and Shafkat. Ian Gary hypes up the fight. Shafkat says he's going to win. Back and forth of, ooh, it's a big fight. We're both undefeated. It's big. It's going to be huge. We're both going to want to win. Pretty respectful overall. Then Cyril and Volkov get into it. They just say like three things. A reporter asks if each fighter hits hard. Cyril says that Volkov hits pretty hard. And then Volkov makes a joke and he says, we went to decision, so not so hard, which is really funny. Got a big laugh. That was the big moment of the press conference, was Volkov's little joke. I like it. I like Volkov. I like his long hair. It's funny. I hope Volkov wins. I'm going with him as well. It's more than a hope. I picked him. So yeah. Then Kazakhstan gets hyped up. Shafkat Shafkat's homeland gets hyped up, and Shafkat hypes it up as well. The reporters are asking questions about it, and then that's about it for that. Ian Gary starts hyping up his kid and saying that he's the blessing of his life, and then he makes his life happy. To be honest, this press conference didn't. Just this whole build up in general is making me hate Ian Gary a little bit less. He hasn't done anything wrong yet, really. And it's been a while since he's fought, so all my other like stuff that I hated him for is kind of just in the back of my brain. So it's just like this press conference and everything about this fight is just kind of making me like him a little bit more. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. I know it's blasphemous take, but I'm hating Ian Gary a little bit less now. But yeah, then Ian Gary gets a question about Colby, and he shits on Colby Covington and says he'll destroy him and that he'll dog walk him, and that Colby Covington's afraid and completely petrified of Ian Gary, which I agree with. Colby Covington did not want anything to do with Ian Gary. He took Joaquin Buckley. To be honest, I don't know why he took that fight either. I think he gets shit on in that fight. But Ian Gary, especially, he is terrified of. He has no hope in his heart that he'll beat Ian Gary in any aspect of a fight. Colby Covington's a bitch. He's done. He's over. He should retire. And I think Joaquin Buckley will retire him. So yeah, Pantoja says his message wants to touch people, is what I wrote down. Probably some wholesome stuff about his whole backstory, which I've heard is pretty sad. I'm not gonna research it or anything, but he wants it to inspire people in a way. And then Ian Gary hypes up Charles Oliveira in Portuguese, trying to speak Portuguese. I don't know how well he did. It seemed he went to English pretty quick, so it seems like he did it pretty not good job at representing what he was trying to say in Portuguese. So yeah, Charles Oliveira gets the hype. Ian Gary soaks up a little bit of Charles Oliveira hype since he's in his corner, which is kind of unfair, but who really cares? If Charles Oliveira likes him, I like him a little bit more because I like Charles Oliveira. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the 310 press conference. Super boring. Nothing really happens at all. But then we get to 311, which had so much more of what UFC 310 had little aspects of, but needed a lot more of, which is complete broken English yapping, which is the best part of the UFC, pretty much, is people yapping in broken English and then fighting. It's amazing. And this press conference had that, just had loads of that. It was just Islam, Arman, Marab, and Umar up there. Islam and Arman throughout the entire press conference were super duper respectful. Nobody was making a wrong. They were completely chill. Really boring, to be honest. Islam says that he's injury free. He says a bunch of respectful stuff about Arman. He says he's very skilled and stuff. Arman says the same thing. Very lame. But Arman says he has a secret technique that he's going to pull out and get a bonus. Ooh, he's going to throw another axe kick maybe. Maybe a spinning wheel kick. We'll never know. I don't think it'll hit. I still think Islam kills him. And then we get to the fun part. Marab versus Umar in yapping battle to the death. And Marab is so funny when he's talking. He's really the star of press conferences lately. He is so bad at talking in English, but he so wants to say stuff. He wants to say so much, but he just can't. It's got to be so frustrating, just not knowing what you're trying, like knowing what you want to say, but not being able to get it out has got to be so frustrating. And you can tell on his face, he's sweating the whole time. It's so funny. But Marab says that it's personal. That says Umar hasn't earned shit, and that he should have fought more people, and that he had to run through all the rankings, and that Umar hasn't done anything. He beat No Wrestling, Corey Sandhagen, and then Umar makes a lot of points that were actually making a lot of sense. But then Umar says that it doesn't matter. Kaya Sakura is getting a title fight. Who really gives a shit? And then Marab completely crashes out and says, "I'm the fucking champion. You have a gift. You've been given a gift." All this shit, this crazy amount of just yelling over each other. And then Umar makes a lot of sense with his points. Like, there's no one else you can really fight. Like, Marab really wants to fight Petr Yan, but he already beat him. Like, this is the only interesting fight right now that makes sense. Sean O'Malley can't fight for a really long time because of his surgery. Also, Marab just beat him. So that fight wouldn't make any sense at all. He already beat Peter. Davison Figueiredo's hype is killed. This makes sense to me now. Sadly, because I hate it. And I'd rather have someone else fight him, but there's really no one else that has any hype. So this makes some sense to me. Sadly. But Umar says that Marab's ducking him. And then Marab crashes out again completely, saying, "Fuck everything. Fuck fuck the belt. Fuck all the money. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. You're not a man. You're not a man. You gotta be humble." And then Umar says, "You're disrespecting, you talk shit online and all this shit." And then Umar says, "Prove it." Basically, he just says, "Prove it." And then Marab can't prove it because he doesn't have his phone. He can't recite the tweet because he's not very smart also, and probably didn't load it into his brain. I don't think Umar has said anything super duper disrespectful either. And that's what he was saying the whole time, is that he hasn't disrespected his character in any way. He just says that he wants to fight you, that Umar wants to fight him, and then he's ducking him, which is probably true, to be honest. But then Marab kept going hard, saying, "Who are you? You haven't fought anybody. You gotta be more humble." Just freaking out the whole time, just screaming. And his voice is so bad, and his English is so trash, and it was awesome. What a good press conference. So funny. But then, after a lot of yelling, a reporter literally interrupts him and says, "I need to ask a question, please." And then they start talking, and Dana is very happy with that situation. Islam gets a question about Ilya. He says that he doesn't want anything to do with Ilya, which is sad because that's a super big fight, but I get it. Islam should be fighting up in the rankings, or in the up weight classes. He shouldn't have to fight down anymore. He did that already. Ilya has one title defense. Like, it's the biggest fight right now, in my opinion, besides like the higher weight classes, but it doesn't really make sense. So I get that why Islam doesn't want anything to do with him. But if Ilya keeps yapping and knocks out one more guy like Diego Lopez, this could be sick. Or if Islam goes up and loses to a Shafkat coming off a win against Bilal, there you go. That's a huge fight, though. Islam Shafkat would be sick, actually. But yeah, we get into more yapping between Umar and Islam. Or Umar and Marab. Oh, yeah. A reporter asks Umar and Islam what their best moment as teammates was or whatever, and Marab says jacuzzi, referencing that they take baths, like they sit in the jacuzzi, like really weird and close and kind of gay. And Marab says that, which is actually really funny. Marab has a little personality bubble that is really entertaining. His fight style is horribly boring and trash, but he has a little personality that's like almost you're not laughing with him really, but it's kind of a mix. You're laughing with him and at him at the same time, and it is entertaining. He's an entertaining guy on the mic. And then they start yelling again, and Marab says he wants Peter because he's a killer and that his last performance was awesome, which it was, but it doesn't make sense for him to fight Peter Yan right now. A lot more yelling. Umar says Marab already beat everyone in the division. I'm the only one that's you can fight right now, and that makes a lot of sense. But Marab will not take that as an answer. He fucking hates that reality. So he just keeps yelling about shit. The funniest press conference ever. Not ever, but it was very entertaining. But that's pretty much how it wraps up. Dana White glazes John Jones at the end for some reason. Someone says, if Islam wins, will he be pound for pound number one in your eyes? And Dana says no and says John Jones is the best. Awesome. And then a reporter, of course, right when we thought we couldn't, like the 311 or 310 press conference, no one said shit about where are we going. Right at the very end of this one, someone says, "Where are we going in 2025, Dana?" Like we're gonna get an answer that means anything at all. We never get an answer that means anything. He is always just like, "Yeah, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. I want to go to a lot of places." That's always the answer. Stop asking that question. It's so annoying. And then at the very end, some South African reporter, like, it was so stupid. He shouts out his Instagram and then asks an MMA like Instagram that he has, and then instantly says something wrong. He says to Islam, "It's your first rematch in the UFC. How does that feel? And how do you feel about silencing everybody or whatever that Armin's your biggest contender?" And it's not his first rematch in the UFC. He rematched Volk and fucking head kick KO'd him. And Islam was like, "This isn't my first rematch." And then just kept going. But it was just like, ugh. Don't shout out your Instagram and then instantly be wrong. It was just ew. And then he said, "When are we going to South Africa?" We've heard that question 1,000 times. Dana always says the same shit. I answered it for him before he even said shit. You can't go to South Africa. They don't have the dealio. They don't have everything together right now to go to South Africa. Stop asking. It's so annoying. They'll go there. They know where they're going, and they're not going to tell us until they know 100% that they're going there. So annoying. Also, who gives a shit? I guess they would give a shit, but come on. Stop asking. It's it's just every press conference, and it's the same question, and he always has the same answer. It's so needless. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of that one. UFC 311 was a lot more entertaining. So I can't wait for this build up. January is going to be actually sick, which is January usually sucks in general as a month. So this being in there, because like I'm pretty sure Mackenzie Dern is headlining a fucking main event at the beginning of January. So we're starting out rough, but then we're getting really good. But we'll see what happens with the rest of the year. But yeah, very good card, very good press conference, very funny. Dumb questions, but that is always going to be the case, I think. So yeah, both press conferences very different, but Both added a little bit of hype. One added a lot, one added a little bit. But the fights sell on that card anyway, so it didn't need to be fun. So yeah, that's about it. I'll see you soon.